Hey again, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Miami Hurricanes Live with the wholesome one. You see him there. Let's bring him up. There we go with the U. So you know the deal here. NFL draft night. So we'll be breaking down the prospects, of course, with a wholesome one. But in addition to that, you guys know the drill. You produce the show. So jump into the live chat, leave your comments, your questions, debate topics, anything you've got for us. Otherwise, we will chop it up right here. We appreciate the the comments as well, and share the videos out on social media. So right now, as we get ramped up, grab this link, share it out on social media. Let's get a crowd in here. Wholesome one, how you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. It's going to be a great day for people who are pretty close to me, and also be very good for the Miami Hurricanes players going in the draft today. We expect to have two first-rounders today, both coming off the edge, who should have played together this year, but, you know, it is what it is with the old 15 deciding to step away for the 2020 season. So we're excited, and it's happiness and smiles where I am currently, and also down in Coral Gables. I think it's going to be good, and it's always such a blessing to see these young men get that chance, and always love to hear them talk about their mother, their father, thank God, like all that type of stuff. It's such a joyous occasion. I mean, we get into all these mock drafts, and that's a stupid move or that's a great move, but in the end, we're literally watching years, and sometimes if they're over 20, almost decades of work being put in and actually now manifesting before our eyes. So I always love draft time. I always love watching it because the smiles and the happiness, it's like none other.
As soon as you made the comment about Phillips and Russo having that opportunity to play with each other, that didn't happen because Greg Russo opted out. The first thing that hits my head every time is that way back in the offseason, as soon as Jalen Phillips announced that he was headed toward the U, the very first time I ever got posed the question, what kind of chance does Miami have against Clemson? And this is before Russo opted out, of course. My very first thing that ran through my head was they got a chance because they've got two elite defensive ends that can close in on that number one quarterback. And you go through NFL history, and I think the classic example of it is the Giants against the Patriots and Tom Brady, and using an elite defensive line and pulling off an upset because regardless of how great the quarterback is, if he's on his rear end the whole night, it's just not going to happen.
Absolutely. We were robbed of having that. You could blame COVID-19, sure, but that was a personal decision. And he decided to make a business decision. And one that a lot of us didn't like. I understood it. I used to call it quitting. I'm not going to call him a quitter, at least not publicly. But it was sad. It was. If you ask me, Wholesome, was this a good business decision? Because you, I, and everyone that watches him knows he wouldn't be able to replicate 15 and a half. I understand. Rob Farve, I didn't get a notification either. I think that's why we're low right now. I mean, it's so much stuff being uploaded on YouTube right now. If you put NFL draft, then it'll blow up. But besides that, it's been wild. I think that's why we have such little folks in the house right now.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, because actually I fired up this live stream at usually I'll do it hours in advance, and I was out of the house, and so I didn't get around to it, but I fired it up about 4:40, and I actually, because it was late in terms of when I set it up, I put it on for immediately. Instead of setting 5 o'clock as the start time, I put immediately, thinking we'll hopefully get more people early, but that my strategy didn't necessarily work. So anyway, we get the wholesome one here. And before we chop it up about the individual players, I want to hear from you, because I think when you get to know somebody in certain ways, in certain areas of their life, then you always channel it that way. Like, because of the channel I run, I'll have people comment to me. They'll just assume that I don't like the NFL because of the channel I run. They'll be like, well, we know you don't like the NFL or you don't follow the NFL. And I'll be like, I love the NFL. What are you talking about? Just because I don't talk about it here, because I want to stay focused on, college football is enough to cover by itself. That, that blows me away on a daily basis as it is. That, oh man, if anything, if somebody held a gun to my head throughout most of my life, I would have chose the NFL. Like, I love the NFL. I have a trouble keeping up with it to the extent that I would like to now, but through most of my life, I was like a super geek nerd when it came to the NFL. So anyway, because of our relationship, talking Canes and talking college football all the time, the first time you mentioned the NFL, and I don't know when that was, maybe it was last year's NFL draft, that I was like, oh man, I didn't realize the Wholesome one was this much into the NFL, because we just always talk college ball. And then I discovered that this is one of the things that you just love.
Oh, man.
So what is it about the NFL draft that you love so much?
Well, Mark, number one, being as close to kind of the bridge between the two, because, I'm a big in recruiting, right? But what I do as a profession is right before they get to the NFL. So being there for the last couple of years and really watching some of the young men grow, manifest, and then get that chance on that next level. But the biggest thing for me was when I had my personal class prospect breakdown series that I did. And it was just like, it opens your mind up to all these different viewpoints of these prospects. I've watched these young men before they signed to Miami, play their entire career, every single snap, all the way up into combine, all the way up into drafting, right? But that's from my perspective. But now I can go to a Pro Football Focus. I can go to a draft so-and-so.com, or scouts this, and get all of their perspectives, and now get a different view of this same prospect I've been watching for 4 years, okay? And it really opened my mind up to not having such a bubble of the Miami Hurricane player and what I think how good they are. Because when you talk about them at the NFL level, now you're talking about a young man compared to the entire nation. And yes, you might have the number one linebacker in the country, but guess what? He may still not go first round because there's only 32 picks. So and we all know that there's going to be 4 or 5 quarterbacks. There's going to be 4 or 5 quarterback protectors, and there's going to be 4 or 5 quarterback rushers. That's 12 to 15 picks right there. That's almost half the draft is dedicated to people who throw it, the protectors, and those that rush them. All right. So, and then the other conversation is those that can stop them from completing passes, which would be the cornerback. So once I opened my mind up to like all these different, I used to love watching NFL Network, and that's what I kind of grew up on. My love for football started on NFL Network because they had the Canes on there with Warren Sapp and Michael Irvin. So my real love and study of football started in about 2010, 2011 when I got into high school and started really studying the game before I could really help my team as a freshman. Because I was an academic guy before that. Books and doing essays and reports, that was like my thing in middle school. It was really weird. But then I got to high school and started playing ball, and I fell in love with this sport. And I've always realized if you study something, then you're going to be able to regurgitate it. So if I studied the game enough, when it was time to go out there and physically do it, I would already know the answers to the test because I studied. And that's where my love came for the NFL through the NFL network and studying that and then getting close with the prospects. And even more now, being able to be at a pro day, stuff like that. It's really cool. It's really cool and it's fun. some of the guys that you see on TV, you get a chance to meet them, you're like, holy crap, these people are huge. Like, I met Michael Irvin, and I was like, God, you played receiver? Good Lord. That dude is stacked, man. And it's fun. It's fun. But the NFL draft and the study of it just opened my mind up to all these different other versions of football and understanding, like, this is how Miami's playing it, which was horrible for a while as far as 34 defense or the under center spread or the simplistic spread that James Coley was running under Stephen Morris and Brad Kaya. And then you start studying these other draftable prospects. You're like, wait, so running a spread is what everyone's doing? Yeah. All right. Having speed at almost every position is what everyone else is doing? Yeah. So why is it that I can identify this, but the people in charge can't? Okay. Okay. It's mind-blowing to see great football and hard work and examples of that all over the country. But enough people don't replicate it. It's crazy. I mean, Mark, how many times have you heard first guy in, last guy out, and they're the ones that are successful? So the formula is out there. The formula is well known, but only a finite percentage actually do it when it's well-known knowledge. Okay.
Yeah, the aspect of the NFL draft, among other things that fascinates me. I posted a video that I don't even know if anybody could find now because I started another channel when I first started this. I called it On the Mark, and then whatever happened, I had to start the new channel anyway, or maybe I just changed the name. Maybe it's there. I'll have to look for it. And basically, I just made it as simple as this is why I love sports, and we'll kind of transition that to just football. And then I talked about all the reasons why I love football. Like, because some of it I can relate to playing it myself, even at a very small level. The competitiveness, I love the competitiveness. I love the strategy. I love the organization. You know, when we talk about the different conferences and how they're structured, and I love the history. I love the tradition. I love the pageantry. But most of it has to do with the nuts and bolts of what's going on the field, the strategy on the field, both the strategy and the athleticism, and then transitioning that to what happens off the field to build the team. And that comes home at the NFL draft. You know, that's the NFL's version of National Signing Day. That's when you acquire the talent and build your team. And the fascination of this is how you run a sports business, a football business, and make the decisions that, you know, people's jobs are on the line. This is where you need to make the decisions that are going to decide the future of your franchise. And the fascination of how those decisions are made, the strategy of hoarding picks or getting rid of picks. And, you know, from my earliest remembrances of football, George Allen, he was the head coach of the Washington Redskins and had a big hand in the general manager's role, as football was less complicated then and guys would do multiple things. And his philosophy was he didn't like young players. This seems insane now. He did not want, and his team was called the Hill Gang. He would get rid of draft picks to acquire veteran players. He would constantly get rid of draft picks because he had his team was practically all over 30 years old. And they were good. But, right. But it was a different age.
That weird mindset is actually pretty common. I can't think of, there's stories of dozens of basketball coaches that hate playing freshmen. It's like, if they're the better player, they should be allowed to play. That weird mindset. But I understand. It's just like at one point, Mark, the spread offense was thought of to be gimmicky. in little guy football.
Yeah, not
Real
real
men
football.
run power
Yep.
I 34 defense. And I still say this, Mark. Now, this is bringing it back to college a little bit. How different is college football if Oregon beats Cam Newton and Auburn in that 2011 national championship game? If they were 2011, because it was
Yep.
2010 season, but the game was played too. If they won that game to where they were on that stage, eerily similar to how the Buffalo Bills and the Air Kelly and that spread early on, if they would have won, how soon that could have taken a grasp into football, because so many people would knock that offense and think that it was, group of five. Well, this is before group of five was a thing. It was D2 ball. It was little guy ball. Even the NFL would draft these spread quarterbacks and then force them to play under center. I mean, I always have used the analogy. And Cam Newton's had his struggles in the NFL, still one of my favorite players. College ball, I could argue he was one of the best players in college football history.
Sure.
Or he had one of the greatest 365-day year I have ever seen. You go from winning the JUCO national championship, signing with Auburn, winning the national championship with Auburn, and then a couple months later, you're the first overall pick in the NFL draft. That calendar year from 2009 through, late 2000, early 2010 through 2011 was just bonkers for Cameron Newton. But anyway, how crazy could that have been? It would have finally showed things, especially because the SEC had a grasp on college ball, and they were the ones running that power eye, 320-pound nose, a 280-pound middle linebacker. Mark, if you picked up those Alabama teams early on, I don't even know if they could thrive in today's ball. They would be completely out of gas. When you got Terrence Cody, who's 380, Marcel Darius, who's 320, Courtney Upshaw, who's 295 pounds, and Dante Hightower, who's 280 pounds. And they're playing a today's spread team? Oh, Lord. Whoa. That would be wild.
Do have a question coming in here, wholesome one from Kyle Smith, who asks about your thoughts on Coach Hayes' breakdown of the spring game.
Yes, so Coach Hayes, real good friend of mine, like I spoke about before, former defensive line assistant with Coach Mario Cristobal at FIU. He's the one that we all been trying to get y'all two together, man. That dude is amazing, Mark. I'm telling you. I think you guys would have such a great show. He's so knowledgeable, and he's such a good helping hand person, giving back to the community in the ways that he does with community service up in Orlando. So super happy for him. Anyhow, I really love the way that he respectfully calls out some of the things that we still do wrong. We're watching the game, Mark, and you could take this good or bad, however you want to go with it. But it was so crazy to me to see Coach Diaz blitz Jake Garcia in the fourth quarter, to the point where Zach McCloud gets pushed into his ankle. Thank God it didn't pop. Ryan Rigoni on 4th and 16 or something puts his shoulder in his chest, in his stomach, on a throw. And you're continuously – now, you could argue on one side. He's a true freshman. It's really good that he still had a touchdown drive when he got pressured on every single snap. But to me, Mark, would that not be – it's a running clock for the fourth quarter. Your starting QB is calling plays. Would this not be such a great moment? Because Jake had already played the entire game. Why would you not want to turn this into kind of a 7-on-7 thing? Let's see how we communicate in zone. I want you to go 4 wide, and let's just be able to go on a full drive. Mix a little run in there, of course. But De'Aaron King was basically calling the Big 12 game. They air raided it. Whenever he took over the fourth quarter, when he was coaching both sides, they air raided it. This is my opinion. I thought it would have been such a great opportunity for us to go 4 wide against our dime, against our nickel, against our quarters coverage, and see how our defensive backs would do having to communicate against an up-tempo offense. Try your cover 4, try your cover 2, try your cover 6, try your cover 3. Get all that communication. See if we're able to move in an up-tempo against an up-tempo offense. Also, try your substitutions so you can get your players into understanding as soon as that guy gets tackled, I know for a fact if they get this first down, I got to sprint to the sideline because the second defensive line is coming on. Or we're getting Avante Williams off of there. Gervin Hall is hopping back in the game if they get this first down. And you get that and you practice those reps so that when we get in the game, all right, we already understand. Yes, you had your 5 plays. If they get this first, hurry up off the field because I'm not getting a illegal procedure penalty or too many people on the field penalty because you don't know when you're supposed to be subbing out of the game. So many times you see that coaches lose their mind, have to waste a timeout because we're trying to do all these different substitutions. Also, you talk about big plays over top. A lot of things happen when the defensive backs aren't communicating. Oh, I got the green call. It's orange, but I thought it was green. So he thought it was cover 2. He thought he had safety help over top. The safety thinks it's cover 3, so he's coming down to the alley flats. And now we got a corner and a safety standing next to each other arguing while the band is playing and the wide receivers in the end zone. Okay. That would have been, in the host one's opinion, a great time to test your defense and, heck, even your offense, how they're going to react. What about their different packages? What about their different substitutions? If we do get this first down, we're going to hurry on the ball, QB sneak if we don't get it. Let's say it's 3rd and inches. If they don't give it to us, everybody line up in 20. Let's go 23. Just do a QB sneak. Those things you want to be able to practice. I didn't see enough of that. So that was something that I saw. Also, Coach Hayes brought up that we're still giving up stretch run plays. Some of the tackling was still very iffy. But he also leans on the fact that Miami was down 16 players, and 12 of those were starters. So it was just really nice to have a guy like Coach Hayes be able to come on and show the fan base through his film sessions some of the deficiencies of the Miami Hurricanes defense still. And most likely the Manny Diaz defense. That's basically what it is. Something that's still been having problems for years.
Very cool. The wholesome ones here, folks. We got him for an hour as we typically do on Thursdays, and we're so appreciative that he takes his time out of his schedule. He's got a ton going on, a lot going on, and sends it our way every Thursday. So we hope that you will take note of that in regards to making your plans to be with us live. We love the Rewatch Squad. So you folks that are going to watch here later tonight or in the future, we love you too. Hashtag Rewatch Squad as well. So join in any way you can, but we love the live conversation to get your thoughts and your questions and comments. Off the beat of Miami, we've got a question coming in from the Rod Favre. I don't know if you've necessarily kind of checked out what's being said about Justin Fields, his prospects toward an NFL job versus what you've seen on the field. You know, he has really dropped down the draft board since mid-season, I'd say, of 2020. What do you see when you watch Justin Fields?
I see a young man he's going to really fall under this issue of being a part of a system in Ohio State that has struggled to produce NFL quarterbacks due to the simplistic nature of the offense and how they really use their athletes as the go-to, and the QB is more of a facilitator, opening things up for everyone else, as opposed to having something similar to where Trevor Lawrence early on in his career, where they let him go out there. You see him out there almost dang near calling his own plays. You don't necessarily see that with Ohio State. It's because their system is just so good that you've been able to plug in 3 different quarterbacks, and one won a national championship. The other ones were making playoff bids, except for that one year you guys beat the mess out of Washington in a Rose Bowl in Urban Meyer's last game.
Yep.
Okay, I know you're Ohio State guys. That's why I said you guys. It's. I don't think that it is. Are there stereotypes when it comes to black QBs? Absolutely. Are there stereotypes when it comes to white QBs? Absolutely. Like when Trevor Lawrence broke off, and we all were just like, none of us can really say it, but it's just like, whoa. Like that dude took off for 70 yards, and there were DBs running as hard as they could and could not get within like 5 yards of this dude. He's kind of a locomotive, man. When he get going and he was in that open space, I was like, whoa. But the entire time, you're like, somebody's going to catch him. Nobody's going to, 30, 20, 10, nobody's in the picture. He was all alone. So I don't really like it because when you get a QB like a Teddy Bridgewater to where he is more of a pocket passer, he's just a modern QB. Remember, I've gone through this with you before, Mark. To me, it's not pocket passing. It's not scrambling because I don't like those stereotypes. It's modern day QB or an old school QB. You can win with both. I just see you need to be able, like Joe Burrow. This man pick you apart. You get him a 3rd and 8, run out the pocket and get a first down, slide or trickle out of bounds. Move them chains, like that is such a hard thing for a defensive coordinator to have to deal with because I don't want to be too pressury because if he breaks the pocket, he can go and he'll also find the open man. I also don't want my defensive line to just contain rush because if we give him too much time, now he finds somebody intermediate to deep as opposed to short. It's a really tough thing to try to mess with those big-time NFL QBs and their minds. So I think having a balanced modern-day QB is the way to go. And I think there are plenty of quarterbacks who fit that. I think every one of them fits that. That's in the top 5. Trey Lance, he definitely fits that. Trevor Lawrence, that dude, what a guy. What a guy. What a guy. And Trevor Lawrence, he's really good. He also fits that. Justin Fields fits that. The young man from BYU, he also fits that. He could run for you. He can also throw the dimes and throws a very catchable ball. The only one except for Mac Jones. Mac Jones is not really a runner, but in the national championship, he made a couple big 3rd down runs that kept that drive going. And what really wasn't a blowout, but people think it was, it only got away in the second half. But Ohio State came to play. And if one or two things go their way, it's a way closer game, especially that running back being hurt. I was kind of hurt to see that for him, even though you guys know I rock with Roll Tide. That's from second squad. But anyway, when it comes to Justin Fields, I don't see it more of it being a race thing. I think the disrespect comes from them not knowing, is this train moving well because of you, or are you a part of why the train just moves well? Okay, those are two different things. Are you the life of the party, or are you just in here jumping with everybody else, having a good time, bobbing and weaving? Or are you in the middle of the circle dancing and everybody's surrounding you going crazy because you're the one cutting up and they love it? That's kind of the question with Fields.
You know what name came to mind when you just made that last analogy about the train was, interestingly enough, Jay Cutler. Think what you will about Jay Cutler and what happened to him in the pros and him getting a reputation for not working hard or whatever. But when he was at Vandy, you knew that the success that they had was a large part because of his right arm. Like Vandy started beating like Florida, and they hadn't beaten them in 50 years. And like he's a dude with guys around him that will never touch an NFL field, and they're being competitive in the SEC. It's we don't need to completely just dive into this, but it's just I hope everyone would check a lot of those stereotypes at the door and think about that going forward, because it's just too bad. And connected to that Ohio State legacy and that quarterback race over the last several years, there was an Ohio State quarterback room that involved Dwayne Haskins, Joe Burrow, and then later Tate Martell before he transferred. And also one just to speak to exactly what you're talking about. I saw more than one national analyst who just assumed that Dwayne Haskins was the athlete in the room, and the fast runner. And I'd be like, you don't watch and you're assuming, because I was surprised the first time I saw Tate Martell, because I just knew he was a stud prospect. I didn't know why. I didn't watch the tape. I didn't listen to the scouting reports. I just knew this dude's a 5-star. So I just figured he was a guy with a Drew Bledsoe type. No, it was flipped around. He couldn't throw, but man, the dude was fast. And I saw him in the spring game running away from people. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it literally fits what we're talking about, to where it's the inverse. You have one who's a pocket passer, picks everything apart. He's the brother. You got the other one, he can't make a throw to save his life or his cat from a burning tree, but he can run around and make people miss, and he's dynamic, yada, yada, yada. And he happened to be not brother. So it's something that we're continuously working on as a society to push away. And I think the more and more we get to the point where we have modern QB, remember that term, Mark, before it blows up, you get that modern QB, the more and more you get to that extent, then that grows, man. Because look at Trevor Lawrence. If you were to look at Trevor Lawrence and you pick him up and drop him in 2006, 5 or 6, they would probably consider him to be balanced. They would consider him to be a little bit mobile because he can go. But he also can sit in the pocket. And you watch the Miami game Quincy Roche didn't do anything in that game, but Jalen Phillips was giving him constant pressure. What was he doing? Being mobile behind the line of scrimmage, getting out and rolling out of that pocket and finding the ball down the field. And that's what modern QBs in 2021 moving forward have to do. Yes, do you want an elite offensive line? Heck yeah. But at the end of the day, it's nothing like it truly being 11 on 11, not 11 on 10, to where the QB is a part of the game, passing and running the ball at a high level.
Connected to Miami, of course, is N'Kosi Perry, who made his decision to go to FAU, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that move, because we've got a quarterback who did not excel at Miami. He had his games, he had his spots. Certainly, it was great to see, as you've outlined here, him go out on a high note despite the loss, bringing that team back and really playing well in the bowl game against Oklahoma State. And, he did good things where he was there at Miami, but, would have never been a top line starter at that level. But he goes to FAU, and how do you see his skill set fitting in?
I think he would definitely thrive in that type of that type of environment. It was so beautiful to see the love from this fan base towards N'Kosi Perry. Do a lot of people think that he was given a fair shake? Probably not. But are the QBs on the roster right now better than him? Yes. And he didn't complain. He made mistakes. He continued to work on himself, and now he gets a chance. He gets 2 years to go to FAU and be the best QB that he can be. And more likely than not, stand out in a certain level of talent. I mean, you're going to be playing Old Dominion and Western Kentucky and Central Michigan and Eastern Michigan. You're going to be playing FIU, teams of that nature. So it's a little bit different. It's a little different than your North Carolinas, your NC States, your Clemsons, and your Tallahassees, and your Dukes, your Georgia Techs. So you're taking just a little bit of a step down, And if he continues to go up, get even better. I think he's going to get some really good QB coaching. And he's going to play in basically a big spread. 4 wide and a tight end, 4 wide and a back. And he's going to be able to put that cannon to use in open space. There's rumors that there are a couple current Canes that will be following him to FAU. I'm not going to give any names, but there's been some conversations. So I think that also would be such a great move for those young men to go and make themselves better. Or if they stay, they work their behind off and continue to get better at Miami. But QB is a little different. It's only one of them that plays. Almost every other position gets to rotate. If you're rotating QBs, probably not the best idea. I've seen it work, but probably not the best idea. But you can rotate receivers, you can rotate tight ends, you can rotate, heck, you can even rotate some O-linemen if you want to, if it's really that dire. Running backs rotate by nature. DBs and everyone in defense rotates with no problem. So I think N'Kosi Perry is a young man that is loved by this fan base, very appreciative of what he gave us. And we'll always remember him breaking the home losing streak to those people in Tallahassee, even though he was like 13 of 32 in that game. It was some really bad completion percent, but he made the throws that mattered.
Yeah.
And when it did, he put him in position to come back and win 28-27. He's been a part of every one of their losses, 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21 to be. And we're happy for him. He's 4-0. He's 4-0 versus those people, Mark. That's a good career to me. That's a good career to me.
Absolutely. That's great. Got the Wholesome One talking Miami football here on the Voice of College Football. We want you to help us in any way you can, both on the Wholesome One's channel. So check it out if I can't imagine at this point anybody's on this live chat unaware, but hopefully we get new people watching videos, both live and the Rewatch Squad on a regular basis. So check out the Wholesome One's channel, HOLSUM and the number 1, Wholesome One, right here on YouTube with some serious film breakdown, X's and O's breakdown of Miami and college football. Wholesome One, you brought up a rotation system to various units across the field, offense and defense. When it comes to the offensive line, and you can relate this maybe to the current personnel you've got at Miami, if things work out ideally in developing the players, figuring out who's the best spot for each position across the 5, left to right, what would you want that rotation to look like? Or would that be just you pick out your 5 best and hopefully they fit the guard, tackle, center, and on the right side the same thing, fit those spots? Or would you like to see a couple guys that are just on par with the starters that rotate in, maybe 2 guys?
Man, O-line it's rotational, but it's also such a great chemistry position.
Yep.
That you really got to move as a unit. All right. And if you start rotating, you could throw off that chemistry unless it's an older offensive line that's used to going 6-7 deep at almost every opportunity. I take you back to 2013. We had a young man by the name of Jared Wheeler. He wore number 75 here at the University of Miami. He got a chance as a rotational guy for the Buffalo Bills for a couple of seasons up north. Actually out east for me. He was our 6th man on the offensive line. So that 2013 offensive line was Eric Flowers at left tackle. At left guard, you had Feliciano. At center, you had Casey McDermott. At right guard, you had Brandon Linder. And at right tackle, you had Santrell Henderson. Well, there was times where Santrell Henderson would be a little iffy. So what they would do is bring in Jared Wheeler to come play guard, to play at left guard, and then they would kick out Feliciano to play right tackle. Or sometimes Casey McDermott would not be doing too well at center, so Jared Wheeler would come in and play center and we left everything else fine on the offensive line at the other positions. It's a good thing to have diversity. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Oh, Pedro. Shane. I always get that mixed up. Shane is the older brother. Casey is the younger brother who played in 2014 through 2017, who was a mixed left guard, left tackle. His older brother, Shane, was a 6'4" center here. Thank you very much, Uncle Pedro. I appreciate it. You got so much in the data bank sometimes, and they start meshing together, and I do apologize. Anyhow, so I get where it could really work. The person I could see that working with is a John Campbell, number 74, John Campbell. Here's why. He has games started at left tackle, at left guard, and right tackle at Miami this time in his career as a red shirt. He's going to be a red shirt sophomore again. So it's really his fourth year, but by eligibility, it'll still be listed as a redshirt sophomore due to 2020 not counting towards your eligibility, correct? So he's someone that can come in. He's battling right now currently with number 60, Zion Nelson at left tackle. But you also have the battle between Ja'Kai Clark, number 53, and you also have Jalen Rivers, number 64. They're battling at left guard. You also have Ja'Kai going at it with our starting center right now in Corey Gaynor. And at right guard, you have Navon Donaldson, who's backed up by Zalante Hillary, number 75. And at right tackle, you have the battle going on between number 51, DJ Scaife, and then number 62, Jared Williams. So I could also see either one of them being a rotational guy swinging in from time to time because DJ Scaife has experience as a right guard and a starting right tackle for Miami. So the two players that I can see being rotational to a certain extent and being able to come in and get a quick snap. So if somebody needs a blow or somebody does go out due to an injury, it would be number 74, John Campbell, and number 51, DJ Scaife. Now, that's if they end up losing those jobs. If they end up winning those jobs, then I could definitely see Jared Williams because it will be his last year. It will be his 6th year of college ball. He doesn't get another shot. He'll be a super duper senior again in 2021. I could see him getting some snaps due to the Canes wanting to give him some film for the NFL. And also, I could see Zion Nelson being rotating behind Campbell if things happen there. So do I necessarily agree with it? No. Does it work? Sure. I think it's not necessarily you got to get warmed up and I got to hit somebody to get my feet under me. I think it's just being able to, as an entire offensive line, we got 24 stretch or 26 stretch, and you literally see all of them step in unison. It just sounds like boom, 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 boom. Everybody's stepping the exact same way at the exact same time. Or when we're slamming hips and we're double teaming a 1 technique, or tackle guard double teaming a 3 technique and carrying him to the play side linebacker. You develop that over time playing with each other in the game. Also in practice, but it's a little different level of when you're in the game. So having that type of energy and having that chemistry of knowing, all right, if we're double teaming this, I know for a fact DJ Scaife loves to slam down on 3 techniques. So I don't necessarily have to step so wide because I know for a fact he's going to try to knock this dude to the next dimension. So I can take a short step because he's going to get that bump, and then I can take over and I can swing my hips, as opposed to if I'm dealing with more of a finesse guy. So I got to be very careful because he ain't going to get that He'll give a little bump and then climb. So I need to be able to overcompensate with that. So now instead of taking a short step, I need to take a wide step all the way across, or maybe even a drop step to get far around to the outside shoulder while he's able to just bump and climb to the backer. And that just comes with chemistry and knowing your offensive line.
Just to let a number of people know that are in the live chat, it was noted early in the show and by a number of people that they didn't get notifications. And then somebody and a few people chimed in to say, Mark, I get your notifications about half the time. And I've talked to other YouTubers and they have that issue. So just keep in mind that until further notice, the Wholesome One's here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So just keep that in mind that he's with us until further notice every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, because we would love to have as many of you here as possible. The Rod Farber's got a question. I got a question. I don't know how many more minutes you've got.
Hit me. What's up, James Ball? Hit me.
We know that this dead period hopefully is going to open up on June 1st. That's the date that's targeted. And then we're hearing from all these schools across the nation that they're going to have all these weekend visits. So they're lined up.
It's about to go down.
Yeah. So the Rod Farber's asking who the next Miami commit's going to be. I don't want to nail you down to that type of prediction, but just in regards to who's on the radar.
I'll give you a name. Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond, athlete, wants to play offense, but all the big-time folks are offering him to play defense. Georgia, Bama offering him to play cornerback, defensive back. Miami's allowing him to play wide receiver. This could play a big part. He wants to play wide receiver at the next level. Could play a big part in us getting a really good 4-star athlete in open space, which we need that speed back on the Miami team again. So I say Isaiah Bond. I could also say Armella, big-time offensive tackle. Now, he was at Columbus, now went back to St. Thomas Aquinas, which is where he was his first 2 years before he transferred to Columbus. He hasn't necessarily made a commitment date just yet. I just think Miami is making such great ground with him that it could be, to answer the question, that could be the next young man to put pencil to paper, is how I like to say it, and commit, not necessarily pen to paper and sign, but pencil to paper.
Julian Armella is a top 15 rated player in the state. So that's way up there.
Bad man, Mark. That's a bad man, Mark.
12th rated offensive tackle in the country.
Not too many can't miss prospects, Mark. He's in your backyard. Unfortunately, his parents did decide to go to Tallahassee, which they're from Florida, and everybody who understands, as much as we love that $48K a semester is a lot of freaking money. Okay. And they're private. They don't really like to hand out a lot of scholarships. So you end up having a lot of people who may be Miami Hurricanes football fans that end up having to go to a Tallahassee or go to a UF, go to a Florida A&M, because they're public institutions. And it's like a quarter for, if we're being honest, probably a very similar degree as far as what you're really learning. So, of course, I'm always going to think Miami is number one, the greatest education, because I'm a fanatic. I love the U, but at the end of the day, I get it. I get it. Unless you're military or an athlete, you got to try to figure out a way to get all these thousands of dollars paid on your own. Okay, and his family is Tallahassee alums, but that program is such a dumpster fire that's not burning out at all. It's only getting worse and worse and worse, and I'd love to see it. It's the greatest thing ever. It's like being able to put whipped cream on cheesecake. It's already good, but when you put that whipped cream on there, it makes it even better. So it's good.
Falcon ERX, thank you so much for the second super chat. Send us a super sticker. Now send us a super chat. Thank you for that, Falcon ERX, who actually has made a couple comments here in the last week or two, just letting people know that we don't expect everyone to contribute, because we know people are in different situations out there. I have tons of respect, and I've been in certain places in my life, believe me, when I couldn't handle what I was confronted with in regards to bills and obligations. So, but just keep in mind that we're here delivering college football content every day, and revenue streams will have to be available to us to continue to do this. And so anything that you can do is much appreciated. So Falcon ERX says here, Florida's wide open. Miami is ready to show off the U to the recruits. Thank you once again, Falcon ERX.
He's correct. There is, but the way that UF, man, at the end of the day, Mark, it is about what you do on that football field. But for them to be able to have these big bowl game wins, back to back, 10+ win seasons, and not be able to pull in top 3 or 4 recruiting classes, it's well known that their staff is about whoever walks through that door, I'm going to develop them to be the best player that he can be, as opposed to going out and getting the best players, plus developing them to be the best players that they can be. It's not good. It's not. I mean, it's good for us at Miami, but it's really weird how good of a program they could be if they added recruiting as a big influx there. Because if you win in this state, the players will come. That's what matters to these players, is winning. Because if you're winning, then you're going to be equating All-Americans. You get enough All-Americans on the field, and those guys are going to turn into NFL draft picks. First-round NFL draft picks. You start doing that, you got winning, you got All-Americans, you got first-round draft picks, you're in big-time bowl games, you're winning a couple of those big-time bowl games. Now you're going to start bringing in those recruits, but they just don't put the same effort in the recruiting. Miami, on the other hand, puts all the effort in the recruiting, and we ain't been developing them. So it's kind of a two-sided coin of somewhat of the same issue. And the biggest thing is either recruiting or developing when you're comparing the two. And Tallahassee is nowhere near it. I mean, even though you gave them Miami only a 58% chance of beating them. And Mark, you said some stuff, man, and it hurts. But that one.
Did you hear my conversation with Cam about it?
Oh, yes. I was in the chat, and I could not believe.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna set the record straight here for everybody.
You changed it. Okay.
I'm gonna set the record straight for everybody right here. So this is the deal, because I know I'm going to catch grief either way, but that's fine. I tell it like it is all the time, and I give you my honest opinion, everybody listening, all the time. So as I explained a couple of weeks ago, a few times, that sometimes I put my opinion out there knowing it's going to be a mainstream boring opinion, and people are going to be like, oh, that's what everybody else thinks. So it's not going to be clickbaitish in any way. But if that's what I truly believe, like if I say Alabama's the best team, they're going to win the national championship again this year, I'm going to be like, okay, big deal. But other times I'm going to give you opinions that are going to be contrarian to what most people believe, and you're going to be like, Mark, you're crazy. But if it's what I truly believe, then that's what it's going to be. Okay. I'm producing videos in which I'm putting together win probabilities for each game for each team that I'm reviewing. And I take a number of factors. It's not a mathematical conclusion, but it's well thought out. Okay. So understand that I don't have the time or the resources to put like 8 hours into it. I'm not going to into one video, but I don't also just pull numbers out of the air. So there's thought given to it. And I would certainly put my percentages specifically on Miami versus what I saw out of the FPI at ESPN. My numbers were much more accurate against what turned out to be the wins and losses for the Canes in 2020 by far.
I 1,000% agree. I
agree.
agree.
Okay. Yes. When I looked at Miami and Florida State, I won't go into how I arrived at this number, but I gave Miami a 57 or 58% chance of winning.
58.
Florida State, 58% chance, meaning Florida State's at 42. Okay. And after really reviewing and talking to Cam, and Cam hit me with that, and I exposed myself because Cam didn't know that I had posted that video, but people brought it up. So I threw it out there at Cam and said, what do you think? Cam laid into me. So, and understandably so.
What's the new number, Mark? What is the new number?
Hang on just a second.
Okay.
So I also want people to realize this. This is just how I am. That if I was truly convicted of 58%, regardless of what Cam said or what the wholesome one says, I would stand here and defend it to the hilt and argue it and not change it. If I truly believed, regardless of how much I respect their opinion and believe in their football knowledge, that I'd say, you know what, boys, I hear you and I'm listening and I'm taking in everything, but I believe in 58%. But that wasn't the case. Cam had some things to say, and I was like, okay, yeah, I really missed it on that one. And people criticized me for backing down. But again, you guys should know me from taking calls almost every night. I don't back down if I believe in something. But if somebody shows me something and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I missed it. Then I'm going to reset and I'm going to correct. So when I produced the Florida State video, yes, but that was last year too. I understand that.
I just want people to know this. Go ahead.
Yeah, 52-10. So when I reset and I posted a Florida State video, I went 77-23. I went 80-20 neutral site. I gave them 3 percentage points being at home. So in Coral Gables, it would be like 83-17, something in that range.
That's logical. I can't even argue with that. I was going to say 81-19. That would be mine, but not saying yours is technically wrong.
Sure.
It's just they're so bad. And they lost a lot of what even made them serviceable. And it's like, and I get it, man. I get it. They beat North Carolina, a team that slaughtered us by $5 billion. I understand. I got folks who say that to me all the time. Luke Walker has everything to say about, like, how can Miami talk crap to them and they beat us and we slaughtered you?
Because you played.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't have played and somebody was connecting the dots, I get that to it. But we can play that game all over the country. People can make those kind of connections all over the place. I've shown people that connect the dots game and put all sorts of people to waste, saying, okay, you want to play that game? We'll play that game. But Miami and Florida State played. They met on the same field. So forget.
And it was not a contest, Mark. Let me tell you something. In the 2 times we've played them, they scored a total of 2 touchdowns. Everything else was field goals. In 2 years. Against a Blake Baker defense. That guy's a position coach right now. He ain't no coordinator. He didn't get a promotion. He got a demotion. Okay. And I keep hearing that you when you're on live with those other people that they got something crazy to say about us. I don't understand what are they even talking about us for? You're not in our league. You're not in our conversation. Go dance with UCF or FAU or something. And honestly, you probably should be kicked out of the conference if you keep looking stupid. Oh, but Miami's never won the ACC. You tell us to stay out of the past. I'm just saying.
No, I get it. I get it. When you start to delve into the past, it also, everybody's going to draw the line where they want to draw the line. Mm-hmm. So the Florida State people are going to say, you keep talking about 2001. You keep talking about 2001. Well, 2013 starting to become a long time ago too. So where do who's the person that draws the line? You can draw it wherever you want. You just happen to draw it in 2013 because that's where you want to draw it.
When Mark, they've been on a decline ever since then.
Yeah.
Think about it. They beat an Auburn team that was a miracle team that should not have been there. That should have been Tricky Nicky and the Sabins kicking that behind, but I'm not going to go there.
That would have been. I would pay to have God take us back in time and play that game.
As I would have, and I'm not a big fan of Mr. Winston at all. I think he's a despicable human being, but we're not going to get into that. I think he got away with something so atrocious because he's the QB. We're not going to get into that. Anyhow, he comes back. They come back in 2014, and Oregon gave him 2 Stone Cold Stunners, a People's Elbow, an Undertaker Tombstone, a Kane choke slam, a Big Show choke slam, and then the Rikishi butt to the face at the end on national TV in the Rose Bowl. Okay, all right, no problem. Come back in 2015, and they lost to Houston in a bowl game. Okay,
And it wasn't that close.
no, it was bad. It was bad. 2016 comes around, and they beat us.
You know, to keep this argument fair, you're putting me in the position to kind of stand up for Florida State here, just to make it an interesting discussion here.
That's okay. I'm very argumentative. I have no problem with that. We can do that.
I know.
2016 comes around. They play Michigan in an instant classic. They come out with a W in that game. That was amazing game. Super proud of them.
Yep, 33-32.
Super proud of. I didn't go to that game because they were there, so I would be angry. So why go somewhere that's going to purposely make me angry? And then I get into a fight. Now I can't go to our home stadium because, they think it's okay to do that chop in my stadium. Anyhow, 2017 comes around, right? And they get ramrocked by Bama, break the streak with Miami. They lose to Southern Miss, or they beat Southern Miss and think that it's great. Oh, well, we won our bowl game. We played Wisconsin and lose our bowl game. But okay. 2018 comes around. No bowl. Don't even make a bowl. 2019 comes around. You don't make a bowl. 2020 comes around, and you're one of the most despicable teams to touch the football field. Okay? Pew, 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 pew. 16 up. Pew, pew, pew. It's sad. Sad. But like Scott said, this is 2021 anyway, so we're here to talk about that. This is a Miami Live, but when people bring up that school, it's personal for me. I can't stand them.
Yeah, it's been really bad the last 3 years, in particular, 18, 19, and 20. Scott Sheridan's a Texas fan, lets us know that he just got home and flipped us on and is taking it in as a Texas fan. And thank you so much for that super chat, Scott. Appreciate that. I love when I see people that I've never come across before that and understand if I have mentioned you before or something, it was a year ago, that I can't remember everybody. They comments all the time, but I love when I find out that somebody's been watching for 2 years, but they just never said anything, and suddenly they pop up. That's great to see. And I think we had one last. Okay,
first of all, bro, your name's Redneck Ron. That should keep you from any conversation at all. Okay, you might want to pipe it down a little bit. Okay, and you're not our Super Bowl. We could care less about you and your program. Okay, continue playing in the toilet bowl and being the worst team in the state. Have a great life.
Well, wholesome one, would you really say that you, and when I say you, I don't mean you personally, as a Miami fan base, doesn't care about Florida State?
Nope.
That's your chief rival.
Mark, we don't care about them. They could go 0-11 and it would mean nothing. I'm one of those people, Mark. I do not believe in rooting for other people in your state. I do not believe in rooting for other people in your conference, and I dang sure don't believe in your rivals being good because it makes you good. And there's people who make articles out here who say that Miami needs Tallahassee. We don't need them at all. They mean nothing. Like null and void. We play you when we play you. We see you when you see you.
Do they mean nothing because they're bad now, or did they mean nothing in 2013?
Mark, they always meant nothing to me. They've always been. When it comes to that week, it's hate week. And when hate week is over, kick rocks.
So you can answer this better than I can because you're talking to Canes fans every day, which I do, but not nearly as much as you do. Do you think everybody or the vast majority of Canes fans hold that opinion about Florida State,
no.
that they don't care about them? I'm not saying that they root for them when they play other teams or go out and play in a bowl game, but they don't care about them. They don't pay attention. They don't.
I could tell you this, Mark. I'm very disappointed when I hear people who think that way, because it's like people, oh, they're little brother. They're not little brother. They're not. They are an enemy. We're not friends. We're not cool. We're not family. We're not cousins of the same. No. I loathe. Like it's nothing cool about them at all. They could lose to every single game and I wouldn't care not a dang bit, Mark. Their whole team could get suspended and I wouldn't care. They could cancel the series. I wouldn't care. That's just me. I Now, there's other people who they like to give them credit and show them love and it's mutual respect. And I like allowing people to have whatever opinion they can have. But when you ask the host about how he feels, nope. I don't even watch them. Like unless it's that week to prepare for them, my YouTube doesn't even recognize it. Like when it's time to prepare for them that week, and you know how your algorithm, when you start watching new stuff, your algorithm starts giving you all these games, and it started posting all this stuff up, and I had to not interested, block, get this stuff off of my feed. I can't have mediocrity touching me in my vicinity. But
so if Miami's got a Thursday night game or a Saturday noon game or whatever the time is, and so you're watching football when the Canes aren't on, you're doing everything possible to avoid them.
It's not about avoiding them. They just don't pop up in my radar. It's just, I would go to the next channel. I'm not necessarily avoiding them. It's just like, I wouldn't say Ohio State, Michigan, because that's not a rivalry either. It's not a thing. Whenever it's that week, it's that week. But up until then, we could care less. They could care less about them. So let's say, for example, I'm not the biggest fan of, let's say I'm not a big fan of Courage the Cowardly Dog, the TV show, right?
Sure.
There's literally hundreds, almost 1,000 other channels that I can watch. It's not that I'm avoiding the one when it comes on. There's just other more important, more relevant things to watch. I'm going to watch those things.
Got Mr. TW. Good to see you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. You know I read them all, wholesome one. ACC is weak sauce. Go Hogs. Arkansas fan watching the voice of college football from 30,000 feet. Nice. All right. Enjoy the plane ride. And we're thankful for modern technology, too. Thanks, man.
Arkansas. How about this? You pick Arkansas up and drop them in the ACC. Could they win our conference? Probably not.
No.
Now, the inverse could happen. You pick Clemson up and put them on that side of the SEC. Would they win? Probably not, but they definitely would have a good chance. Obviously, if you pick Miami up and drop them in the SEC, no, we're not winning it. Tallahassee, they're not winning it. So I understand it. Trust me, you got an amazing conference. You're on a great run that's spanned almost 2 decades. So cool. Ride it as hard as you can and chant SEC. But, never forget that eventually you got to put on your logo. And people are going to wonder why you're chanting SEC when you're arguably one of the worst teams in your own conference. So shout out to you, man.
All right. Good stuff from the Wholesome One today. As always. Eddie, good to see you, man. All right, that should about do it, I think. Enjoy the NFL draft.
Talk. What happened, Mark?
Yeah, we pretty much just got to, run them down for us. We got Jalen Phillips is going to go first.
Oh, and, yeah, by a mile. I got him going. I think I had him like 20th or something like that. I got him going to the what did I have him? Either Tennessee Titans, I think they're picking 20 somewhere in there, or Buffalo Bills. And then I have Greg Rousseau going to my Ravens at 25. And Brevin going to the Tennessee Titans in the 4th round. And Roche going to the Broncos in the middle of the 3rd round. And Jose Borregales going somewhere in like round 6 or 7, somewhere in there. 5, 6, or 7. But Mark, remember when I was on here and I kept talking about the simple fact that Brevin wasn't the best tight end in college football?
Sure.
And people thought that what would I get out of hating on my own Canes? What do I get out of when I said Greg Rousseau is a mid to late 1st rounder due to pure upside? And people were talking about he's a top 10 pick, and I'm hating on him. Then they said Jalen Phillips, because he had a pretty good pro day, was a top 5 pick. Oh my God. I have to constantly remind myself that people don't do all the research. They just like to throw opinions out there and have no substance behind what they're saying. But Mark, these are not just fans. These are people with channels. These are people with pages. These are people who write articles. These are people who have YouTube channels, podcasts, putting out that garbage to people. You have to be careful. Go biblical on you. Okay? The gateway to the heart is through the eyes and the ears. Be careful what you watch. Be careful what you listen to. Okay? It can really poison you. Be very careful. All right? Anyhow, always a great opportunity to be on stage here with you, Mark, talking these Canes and of course, representing the Holloway name and representing the University of Miami. Thank you all, everybody, so much to the people that show up week in and week out. Some of the same faces. It's a blessing to see you in here, showing your love and appreciation and donating to Mark's channel. Make sure y'all go to the Patreon. Make sure you go down to the Amazon link. You don't have to buy a thing. Just click the link and it'll open up Amazon for you and it helps out the channel. Go ahead and hit the hashtag Live Squad. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Or if you're hating, because you're probably a Tallahassee punk, then you can go ahead and hit the thumbs down. That's fine too. It helps us just as much. Little do you know. It helps us grow too, man. But life is good. Continue to be positive and always be what you say you are and be as consistent and humble as you possibly can. Go Canes. Wholesome One out.
Love it, Wholesome One. Thank you so much. I'm going to be back here at 8 o'clock for the NFL draft. So, full disclaimer here, I'm not going to come on here and be giving you commentary for the NFL draft. We've got the NFL Network. We've got ESPN to do that. So pick your favorite network or jump back and forth. Do whatever you want to do. But we're going to do a watch party, and I am going to be listening to Mel Kiper more than anybody because that's my guy when it comes to the NFL draft. That's just the way it is. And I like McShay, and I can't think of the guy on Jeremiah on the NFL Network. And of course, I was at the mothership this time last year working on the NFL draft, and all those various factions came together for one broadcast because of the COVID pandemic situation, one broadcast between the two networks. But we're going to do a watch party right here during the NFL draft at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So it gives me about 90 minutes to get set up, eat, rest up, get fueled up, ready for you, and we'll hang out together if you'd like to do that. That's always appreciated. See you then.